Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We're excited to tell you a little bit about the Richmond Endeavor and our living learning programs for first year students. We're gonna give you a very short presentation, no more than 10 minutes, I promise. And then we'll have lots of time for your questions and be able to answer all of those things. So we'll quickly do some just quick introductions and then we'll get started. So I'm Andy Gurka. I'm the Director of Living Learning Programs at the university. We're excited to have you. And I'm clearly not in the Carol Weinstein International Center, but I wish I was. So I'm excited for us to all get back together in the fall and to have you all come to campus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Akila. I'm the assistant director in the office, and I'm really excited to talk to you all. So thanks for joining us.
Hi guys, my name is Michaela Calendar. I'm a sophomore. I'm a sophomore at University of Richmond. I'm sorry, I'm having computer trouble, so I use two screens at the moment. I am a orientation leader, and I am a past resident in the Endeavor program at the freshman, and a current resident of the sophomores and scholars program.
So I'm going to share, so we're gonna tell you a little bit about the Richmond Endeavor. Again, feel free to shoot questions to us as you have them, and we'll go ahead and answer them at the end, but hopefully we'll answer some of them throughout the course of our quick, short, little presentation. So a little bit about Endeavor, or about the University of Richmond. So we were ranked number 20th in learning communities in the US News & World Report, Best Colleges 2020 Guide. Specifically highlighting the opportunity that students at Richmond have to be able to take multiple courses together and be able to deepen their connections with each other, with their peers, and with professors and faculty members. And that's really what we're hoping that will happen throughout the course of the Endeavor program. And we'll tell you a little bit more specifics now. So, Akila?
Yeah, so this is what the Endeavor program really consists of. So if you're in the Endeavor program, you will take 2 linked courses, one in the fall semester and one in the spring semester, and you'll be with the same people in that class. So you'll keep the class for both semesters, and the courses usually satisfy general education requirements or courses for a specific major. So when we tell you about the different offerings that we have for this upcoming fall, we'll touch on that a little bit more specifically. But in addition to that, you also get a lot of faculty advising. So the faculty member that teaches your Endeavor course serves as your academic advisor, and you meet them honestly before you get to campus. You do summer advising with them, you meet them during roadmap, and then you stay with them throughout the year. You also have a peer advisor. We call them Endeavor navigators, and so they help you again before you even come to campus in the summer, and then they stay with you throughout the year. The navigators really are in charge of organizing different community events with the class and also with Endeavor as an overall program. And then you also get to do a pre-orientation experience called Roadmap to Success, which is a 3-day pre-orientation program. You get to move in 3 days before the rest of the student body, and you do a bunch of things both on campus, and we also introduce you to the greater Richmond community. And then you live in Laura Robbins Court. So Michaela, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience living in Laura?
Okay, I actually live in Laura. I lived in Wood, but this is the first year they've had in Laura Robbins, and I actually think it's really cool because the pods are a really nice way to build that community because you guys are all together. And what's really cool about this experience is that you don't necessarily have to live your roommate doesn't have to be the person who's in your specific Endeavor course. It can be anyone within the Endeavor program. So it's a really good way to start connecting with the other Endeavor courses and start building that greater community, which is the essential goal of Endeavor and Roadmap. Akila touched on Roadmap a bit, and I loved Roadmap. One, it's a really good way to just get to know campus before the school year starts. You get to really have that kind of firsthand experience of what the class to professor experience is like, and you get to feel that dynamic. And then you also get to just really bond with people before the school year starts, so you're just like more comfortable than the rest of the freshmen.
So this is just a quote from a student that was in Endeavor. So she says that Endeavor gave me some of my closest friends on campus. My whole class had a mutual respect for one another, and I'm grateful for the bonds I made with both my classmates and my professor. So this student actually went on, and she is going to serve as an Endeavor navigator for this upcoming fall. So we're really excited to work with her as well. So in the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the communities that you have to choose from for this upcoming fall. So the first one is called Across the Continents. It's taught by Dr. Dixon Abreu. He is going to work through reading different works from authors across the globe. And so that's one of the offerings for this fall. And then there's Civic Journalism and Social Justice, taught by Dr. Mullen. And that class explores ways that journalism can serve as a agent of social change. And then Narratives of Identity and Relationship is answering the questions, who am I and why am I like this? So if that's something that you're interested in, that's the class for you. And then this is a really timely class, Pandemic and the Health of Nations, taught by Dr. Mays. And it is all about, as the title suggests, their class is going to use COVID-19 as kind of a base to talk about pandemics and talk about global policy. So that class actually serves as one of the classes that satisfies healthcare studies requirements. And so as you can see, the other ones, it's they're all first-year seminars, which is what you need to as part of your graduation requirements. But Pandemic and the Health of Nations is actually satisfying something for a major. So if that's something that you're interested in, you'll get that through being a part of this community.
And then we have one other community that actually has a couple courses that you'll take as part of it. So the last community you can choose from is called Societal Impact Through Business. And that is where you're actually going to take three classes in the fall semester and 3 classes in the spring semester. So you'll take BUAD 100, which is a business course. So it's applied knowledge through business. You're going to take that. It's a quarter unit each semester, fall and spring. And that's really working with a partner, a community partner in the city of Richmond, applying what you're learning and doing some social good for a nonprofit in the city of Richmond. You can see in the fall semester, you'll also take both a 1-unit course, Econ 101, which is Introduction to Microeconomics, as well as Math 211, which is calculus. In the spring semester, again, in addition to that BUAD 100 course, you're going to take Econ 102, which is macroeconomics, and Accounting 201, which is Principles of Managerial Accounting. So all of those courses that are listed there, if you are at all interested in majoring in the business school or majoring in something in the business school, those are all core required courses that you have to take as part of within your first 3 semesters at the university in order to apply to be a part of the business school. So this program is really geared towards students that are really interested in business and really thinking about how can the business world impact society and the public good in good and better ways. So it's an exciting opportunity that you'd be able to knock out a lot of your different courses to be able to get you really connected with the business school very early for students, again, who are really interested in majoring in business. You can see again on the bottom, just a quote from a student who said that it was one of their best decisions they made during their first year. It gave them friends and the ability to explore academic interests. That's really what these programs are about, right? So whether you're taking the Across the Continents or Civic Journalism, you'll see that they all count for first-year seminars, which again, like Akila said, counts for a general education requirement. And then those IDST 190 courses are all project-based. So you'll have an opportunity to work with your classmates in terms of like what you, on a spring project. So for instance, the Civic Journalism and Social Justice spring project is actually writing for a micro journal, a news outlet in the north side of Richmond, a little neighborhood newspaper. And so you actually get the opportunity to get published and actually be able to write news stories as part of that class. That's really what the spring project is. And each of the faculty members for the top 3 courses all have a spring project that you'll work on with your faculty member. And you'll stay with those same students the entire year, the entire time that you're living together within Endeavor. And then just one more quote. Michaela, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, I honestly really loved Richmond Endeavor. I agree that it's definitely one of those experiences I do not regret whatsoever. I'm a chemistry and healthcare studies major, and I actually did Across the Continents, which was not anywhere close to what I was thinking about studying, and I loved it. Most of the class, well, half the class was international students, half the class were students from the States, and I don't think that was purposeful. It just happened that way, and they're still like my closest group of friends, and I love hanging out with them, and it just you just have like a really good bond from that experience. It was also one of the ways that I really got to interact with different parts of Richmond that I didn't interact with growing up as a local Richmonder. So we went to operas, we got to go to this local like Japanese food place. It was like P.F. Chang's, and the school paid for it, so that was a really awesome experience for us, and it was a nice way to bond. We also went to a couple plays, and what I really liked most about it was the independent study. He did it really differently, Dixon, and he had us he wanted us to interact with all of our other classes and make it so it wasn't just something we were doing for our endeavor. And so I kind of got to include my spring semester FYS and my math and science courses into the paper a research project that I did. And it was a really good way to have this like academic adventure that was kind of pulling everything together in a way that I never thought I would be doing. I thought I was just going to go to college and do all math and science and pre-med courses. And I think it's a really good start to my Richmond year. And it's been a really good reflection of how my Richmond experience is going to end as a senior.
So just a couple questions that came in that I will just make sure we answered, well, because they're sort of timely. Go back. So the first question that came in is like, what happens if you have AP credits, right? So we know that students take advanced placement credits for both econ and math. So how does that impact if you were going to take this course, if you were going to take the societal impact through business course? So if you were, you can exempt out of the Math 211. So if you do take the AP Calculus exam and get a 3, 4, or 5 on it, the University of Richmond does give you credit for calculus. And so if you would not have to take that one unit in the fall semester. If you did take the micro or macro AP credits, the business school is going to require that you still take these two courses with the Endeavor community as part of if you were going to do the societal impact through business. So they would tell you you could exempt out of the Math 211, out of calculus, but you would have to take the econ courses. Another question that came in is this one. So what does HCS and FYS stand for? So HCS is healthcare studies, and that is a department here at the university. It's an interdisciplinary major that takes, it's a course that students take, or you can major in healthcare studies. And so this is the introductory course that's the introductory course in order to major for healthcare studies. Anybody who's also pre-med, so if you're thinking pre-health, pre-dental, pre-med, any of those kinds of things, those would all, HCS 100 is also another one of those courses that we recommend students taking prior to graduation. FYS is the FYS 100 program, and FYS 100 is the first year seminar program, and every student is required to take 2 first year seminars, one in the fall semester and one in the spring semester. There are about 40 or 50 of them to choose from. They are all limited to 16 students per course, and so that would be why, that's how that satisfies the general education requirement for first year study. Let's go through the, one other quick question I will answer for you before we talk a little bit about how to apply and all that stuff, and then we'll come back to more questions, I promise, is how many students are in each course. So for the 4 that are listed right here, the Across the Continent, Civic Journalism, Narrative Identity and Relationship, and Pandemic and Health of Nations, there are all 16 students in each course, or in each community, so that's 16. For the business program, for the societal impact through business, that's going to have 40 students in the program. So there's actually going to be 2 sections of 20 students, but you'll be together as a group of 20 for a lot of it for the coursework, and then you'll also be in a group of 40 for roadmap and other kinds of things. So that's how the size things, I realized we didn't mention that. So we can talk more about that if you have more questions. Let's go through the application, and then we'll finish up and we'll answer more questions that you may have. So the application deadline is June 7th. You can learn all about all the different communities at livinglearning.richmond.edu. You can look online. Every single course has a specific page. Click on Richmond Endeavor, and then each community has its own page, talks about what the coursework is, gives you really detailed descriptions. And then you click on apply, and it will take you to the Spider portal, which is the same portal that you've been using through the admission process. You'll find the Endeavor application in there. You'll fill it out. It's a fairly easy, simple application. And then you'll hear back from us by June 10th, whether or not you got in or not, and which course you're in. You do get to preference your courses that you wanted to take. So if you're like, oh, 2 of those sound really interesting to me, you could say that you would do either of those. And if not, you could say that you want to do all 6 or all 5 or whichever you preferred to do. How it works with housing. So Michaela and Akila alluded to it. Once you accept your offer, then StarRez, and StarRez is our housing portal. So everyone will create an account in StarRez, and you'll actually create like a profile that'll say like, I go to bed early, I go to bed late, I'm a messy person, I'm a clean person. And you'll do that. Everyone has a profile within StarRez. And if you're in Endeavor, you'll only see other Endeavor students, because you have to live with somebody who's in Endeavor with you. Again, doesn't have to be the same class, but has to be within the Endeavor program. So if Michaela is in the Across the Continents course and Akila is in the Civic Journalism course, they could be roommates still and live in Laura Robbins Court together within Endeavor. If you don't have a roommate and you don't want to match with somebody, we will just we will look at your profile to say like, there's an algorithm that it uses that's beyond my comprehension about how it does it, but it helps match you with person that you'd be most compatible with of the students who are left to do it. So yeah, there's no application cost. There's no cost to participate in the program. Everything is covered, like Michaela said, by the university, and all of those kinds of things. So that's what we have for you. That's the website. We'll just leave that up there for a little bit. We're happy to answer more questions for you. There's a few in there. Akila, did you want to take Akila, could you talk a little bit about, let's see here.
I can say, so there's no additional cost to participate in Endeavor. So you just apply, and so don't worry about any additional costs because there are none. There was a question that just came in talking about like if there's only 3 days to review all the applications. So once the application is open, as we get the applications, like all of us in the office read them. So we do kind of like read them on a rolling basis. And then once the application closes, we're able to make those decisions, as needed, because we're reading them as they come in.
So I know we get this question a lot about how difficult it is to get in the program and all of those kinds of things. That shouldn't be the motivation for you to apply or not apply, right? So if you're interested in doing this, you should absolutely fill out an application and try for it. The reason that we do the application so early is that if you don't get into Endeavor, you still have plenty of opportunities to match with a roommate. We do this all prior to when you actually get access to everybody else within the housing portal. So say you didn't do Endeavor, or say you got into Endeavor and then you're like, I've decided to change my mind. You still get to go through the housing process, and it doesn't affect you, and it negatively affect you if you didn't decide to do the program or if you didn't get into it. Applying earlier doesn't really help. There's no like added advantage to applying early. We do just read them all, make sure that the applications are complete. Sometimes there's computer glitches. We just make sure all those things. We actually have a committee of faculty and staff that look at all the applications, and we turn them around really quickly because we want to get you an answer, and we know that it has implications for housing and all those kinds of things as well. So you'll notice that there are only about 100 slots for students. So that's 100 out of the first year class. Roadmap is actually a much larger program. There's 225 students that participate in Roadmap. So you can do Roadmap without doing Endeavor, but if you do Endeavor, you have to do Roadmap. So if that makes sense. So if you do Endeavor, you're going to move in early 3 days and do Roadmap. You can also participate in Roadmap without doing the Endeavor part of it as well. And you can learn more about that at roadmap.richmond.edu. And you can send us an email if you have questions about the Roadmap program after you learn more about it.
Mm-hmm. Another question that someone asked is, do you stay in Endeavor only your freshman year? The answer is yes. So that is our first year living and learning program. So you'll stay in it your first year. We do have a thing called Sophomore Scholars in Residence that Michaela kind of touched on in the beginning of this presentation. And that's for, as you might guess, second years, so sophomores. And information on that is also on our website. And if you want to reach out to any of us, if you're curious about it, we'd be happy to answer any questions as well.
We got a question about male-female ratio. So this, the last 2 years, it's been about 60% female and 40% male. But again, that's just the way that it's sort of been the last couple of years. And so who knows what it will be this year, and I hope you apply. Lower Robbins Court is a co-ed residence hall, co-ed first-year residence hall. It's organized by pods, so there's like a female pod and then a male pod. There's also gender-inclusive pods or gender-inclusive suites that are in between the two pods, so that we can accommodate folks who need gender-inclusive housing. They are it is our second largest first-year residence hall. There are about 300 students that live in Lower Robbins Court, so we take up about a third of the building. And so it's a popular building. Michaela, you could probably talk more about that.
Yeah, so with Lower Robbins, I think this year they were all on the second and third floor, and they were spread out, and their pods, you have like different pods. So one pod is going to be all girls, but within the same dorm, there's another pod that's going to be all males. So unless you're in like the gender flexible living arrangements. And your RA is also going to be your specific Endeavor RA kind of. They know that their hall is full of Endeavor students, so they try to work with your navigators, from what I've heard, to build events within your dorm. And she crashed in on one, and it was super fun. They're all very welcoming, and so it's a really good time being able to live and have your own community. But it's also because there's still other residents in Lower Robbins that aren't in Endeavor. It gives you the opportunity to meet more people.
Hey, Michaela, there's another question that I think would be more appropriate for you to answer as a student. So the question is about how much does participating in Endeavor increase your workload and time commitment?
I think it's normal compared to another class. It's kind of what you make of it. Even with mine, especially the first year, I didn't really have like all of my activities yet, and Endeavor was and my navigator was one of the ways I got into more activities. And so we'd have our normal class schedule, and then we'd have our homework for that class. But then our navigator would have Thursday night study sessions where we were supposed to do work, but we ended up just talking about how our week was going. And she would bring in some of her upperclassmen friends who had like majors in what we were interested in, so they could talk to us and help like show us professors or bring us to different people on campus. And you just have your different excursions. So it's not like it's like almost having like a class and extracurricular built into one. So it's really flexible to what you want to make of it.
Thanks, Michaela. Somebody asked about a couple more questions about housing. Is there single rooms? So most of our first year residence halls do not have singles. We predominantly hold our single rooms for students who have documented disabilities. So those go through our disability accommodation process. We do have those within Lower Robbins. So students who have a documented disability and get approved for a single can definitely participate in Endeavor, and live in a single room within Lower Robbins, within the community. Students, again, you have to fill out the disability accommodation request form, and that's available at disability.richmond.edu. Somebody else asked me to explain the pods. Michaela, tell me if I'm incorrect, but I've been in the residence hall a lot. So it's like a square, right? Like when you walk into a pod, there's rooms all around the edge of the square, and then in the middle of the square is the restroom, is the bathroom. It's like, and the bathroom connects both sides. So it's typical residence hall bathroom, showers and toilets and sinks. And then so like there's a pod that's like, this is the female pod, and then there's like a little hallway, and then there's like a male pod, and then there's another little hallway, and there's a female pod, or whatever it happens to be. That's sort of how the pods work. Around the rooms are all double rooms, or again, a few single rooms and a few gender inclusive suites that we have built within Lower Robbins Court. So that's how the pods work.
And I put a link to the housing website, and that shows the floor plan. So if that like doesn't make it's probably easier to see a picture of it. And so you feel free to go there. It'll lay everything out for you visually, because that might be a little easier it's kind of a weird building to explain. But yeah.
There was a question that was, do you feel like your community was confined by participating in Endeavor? I feel like absolutely not. I have a wide friend group. I like having different groups of friends so I can kind of bounce back and forth between things. And I think it just made it easier to build one friend group and be comfortable on campus. And so it made me more kind of like energized and excited and motivated to meet other people. And when your friends start doing when your friends in your Endeavor program start doing clubs or joining sports that meet other people and they bring them into like your living space, you get to meet them through that. So there's definitely interconnectedness on campus, especially because we do have a generally small campus, and so you do not feel combined.
Michaela, there's another one. So I'll answer it, but I also would love to hear your answer, Michaela. Like, would you recommend students to participate in Endeavor who are undecided on an area of study?
Oh, yes, of course. Like, I think, because even I was pre-med, I was self-declared pre-med before I stepped onto campus, but I purposely chose one that wasn't in my major because I wanted to see the opportunity of exploring different classes, and almost everyone else in my Endeavor class was like undecided. And it really helped them, one, because our navigator and our professor helped like kind of guide them into seeing what their interests were. And also just a way to explore different things and see what you don't like. So if you're feeling undecided across the continents, and there was another one, narratives, identity, and relationships, I believe that's with Dr. Johnson. They're both good professors that will help you kind of navigate your interest and field of study that you would be contemplating.
I think you're right, Michaela. And the other thing I would say, especially about the about the across the continent civic journalism or the narrative of identity and relationship, is that because they're first year seminars, you have to take them anyways. So it's not like you're committing yourself to journalism. If you take social journalism and civic journalism and social justice, you've just committed to taking a first year seminar, which all first year seminars, no matter the topic, are sort of our reading and writing retentive courses that we require first year students to take. Again, one in the fall and one in the spring semester. So even if you were like, the journalism class sounds interesting, even though I don't want to major in journalism, that still wouldn't put you in a place where you would have to major in journalism. Even if you were really interested in the Pandemic and Health of Nations course, like HCS 100 is a great class. And even if you weren't going to be pre-med, or if you weren't going to major in the sciences or major in healthcare studies, that's the beauty of a liberal arts education, is that you get 35 units to graduate. And if you're here for 8 semesters. If you do the math, that's only 4.5, 5 units that it's 4.5 units most semesters. And so you have the ability to take a course that you just are like, I'm super interested in it. And like, I'm obsessed with COVID-19 because I watch all the news right now. And like, I want to learn more about healthcare policy, and maybe never study it again at the university. I think that's really one of the benefits of Endeavor and one of the benefits of a liberal arts education like you can get at Richmond.
There's a question that says, are the 5 specific seminars available only to Endeavor students? The answer is yes. So this is the only chance that you'll get to take those classes. And we also, like we said before, there are 16 students per class, except for the business one, but even that is just 20 students per section. So you're getting that in a smaller setting, and you're getting the year-long experience as well.
Yep. A couple more housing questions. So no, not all of our first year students live in Laura Robbins Court. We have 5 first year residence halls. Marsh Hall and Laura Robbins Court are the 2 largest first year residence halls. And then we have 3 smaller first year residence halls. So again, that's the answer to that question. You cannot be an RA during your first year at the university. You can apply to be an RA for your sophomore, junior, or senior year. And again, you would do that, but all of our RAs are sophomores, juniors, or seniors. And then the last one I'll take, and then I'll let Akila and Michaela talk more, is should we wait to fill out the housing application until we hear back from Endeavor? No, because the housing application you will have to fill out no matter what, and it's really about your preferences and lifestyle choices and things that you want in a roommate. So that's I go to bed early, go to bed late, clean, dirty, not dirty, but messy, those kinds of things. So you have to fill that out no matter what. You can fill it all out completely, select your meal plan and do all of that and still be an Endeavor. And that doesn't really have any implication. We work really closely with the Residence Life office to make sure that we get this all done and all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. So I can talk about the difference between Roadmap and Endeavor, and then Michaela, do you want to talk about SSIR and Endeavor after that? So just briefly, so the difference between Roadmap and Endeavor. So Roadmap is, again, the 3-day pre-orientation program it is open to students who, regardless of if you want to do Endeavor or not. So if you're like, I just want a pre-orientation experience, but I'm not really sure about this whole year-long thing, you can do Roadmap. You can look at our website. We have a bunch of different short courses that are available. You'll still get that same experience of having the faculty member be your academic advisor throughout the year, but it just has the 3-day experience and then you're done. Whereas Endeavor, you do Roadmap, but you're with that same group of students that you meet during that Roadmap experience throughout the whole year. So you can do Roadmap and not Endeavor, but if you do Endeavor, you're automatically doing Roadmap as a part of that. So let me know if that answered your question. And if you have any more, please feel free to ask. But Michaela, do you want to talk about the similarities and differences between SSIR and Endeavor?
Yeah, there's definitely like a really large parallel between SSIR and Endeavor. They kind of stem off like the same building community and getting acquainted with faculty on campus. So for my SSIR, we all live together, but I don't think they're in you actually starting next year will get to live with anyone who is in the SSIR program. So it's still that big cohort, everyone living together in one dorm, but you do have your individual classes. And what I see is the main difference is with SSIR, you don't go on like small excursions. You go on different like trips during your either fall, Thanksgiving, or winter break. And so my SSIR, we went to London and we got to meet with alumni. We got to see one play. Well, we just did 2 plays and we just kind of did touristy stuff. And it was just a really great experience. I think the bond is like, it's kind of just as deep as Endeavor, but in a way it's different because Endeavor, the bond is based off kind of your all first years, while in SSIR, you kind of like all together in this different like across or around the nation trip, and you guys just all really get close, and it's just a really enjoyable class that you get to have with your professor during your first semester, and then you have your independent study project your second semester, and it's going to be based off the topic like with your Endeavor course. So it's a major parallel. It's just like you have your big course during fall semester, your independent study spring semester, you have your cohort that you're living with your students, but the big difference is not small excursions, but more big trips during your school break.
Mm-hmm. And I'll also say that like from our end, so Endeavor is really about getting you used to Richmond's campus and the local Richmond community. And then our thought is that once you're if you decide to do sophomore scholars and residents, it's kind of broadening that horizon as well.
Yeah, so, and you don't do, so you can do Endeavor and not do sophomore scholars. You can do sophomore scholars, you could do Endeavor and sophomore scholars and residents like Michaela did. You could do none of them. You can, you don't do them all 4 years. Really, we are offering programs. These communities are for first year students. Endeavor is only for first year students, and sophomore scholars and residents is only for sophomores. Most students study abroad their junior year, and then senior year, there's a culture for, there's a culture of living in the apartments that we have on campus and all those kinds of things. So we're really looking at programs for your first and second year. And you don't have to do them, you just do Endeavor for your entire first year. One more question about academics that I'll tell you a little bit about, which is that you do take a first year seminar, or what we call an FYS, both semesters. And so say your Endeavor community is an FYS in the fall semester, you still will take an FYS in the spring semester, but you'll just pick that amongst the whole array of first year seminars that are out there, and you won't take them with the same students that you did your fall semester course. So it also gives you an option to be able to take this specific FYS in the fall semester and then do something totally different if you want your spring semester.
I can talk a little bit about how long does your Endeavor advisor stick with you. So they are technically like it's for your year that you're in Endeavor, but what ends up happening is that you form bonds with your navigator, and so you're able to reach out to that student or that mentor that you form that relationship with throughout your time. So even after you're done with Endeavor, Michaela, do you want to add on?
Yeah. And so your Endeavor advisor, if you're talking about the professor wise, it's also your academic advisor. So they will stay with you until you declare your major. And that is the same for Roadmap 2, that they do become your academic advisor. So until you decide to declare, they'll be your advisor. And then once you do declare, and if they're not in your field of study, they can be your unofficial advisor. I have 3 of those. But then you have your Endeavor navigator, who's going to be an upperclassman, and they can be with you for as long as you need, but they would be unofficially your navigator or a kind of mentor after your freshman year. So mine graduated my same freshman year. So I just like text her, we'll have like quick updates just to like see how we're doing. So it's that kind of partnership.
Good catch. I definitely read that and went straight to navigator, but that makes more sense.
Just while we're on the topic of advisors, somebody asked who your advisor is if you're not in Endeavor Roadmap. So our Office of Academic Advising, so our Academic Advising Resource Center, they will match you with a faculty or staff member who will serve as your academic advisor until you declare a major. And we don't let students at Richmond declare their major until the end of until their sophomore year. So you'll have a faculty or staff member who will be your advisor through your first year until you declare a major. If you're an Endeavor or in Roadmap, it's that faculty member that you're part of. If you're not, it will be a faculty or staff member that gets assigned to you. And then another question that came in was about the nonprofit part of the business program that we're offering. And so that's that BUAD 100. I know I don't want to let it out of the bag because the business school told me not to yet because they're finalizing the arrangement with the nonprofit, but there is a nonprofit organization that they're going to work with that students will be doing some community-based learning with in the fall semester. And so we have some alumni connections there, as well as some, so you'll be doing some applied work. So if you're in your econ class, you might be doing some of that, taking some of what you're learning in the econ class and calculus class and accounting class and applying it to that nonprofit part, which is why you get that extra quarter unit as part of it. So you'll do a little bit of community-based learning as part of the program as well. So I know what it is, but I shouldn't say what it is because they told me not to yet. So as soon as they have the arrangement finalized, we'll update our website, but that should hopefully be in the beginning part of, that should be very soon, I would think.
Do you have to participate in Endeavor to participate in SSIR? No, you do not have to. So you can either do Endeavor and never participate in SSIR, just do SSIR and not do Endeavor. It really is up to you. The travel is all covered by our office. So all the trips that you take, all of the experiences that you do as a class, those are all covered through our office. So you do not pay anything extra. You don't pay anything.
And how much you do it, so I think really varies upon the class. So a lot of times in Endeavor, students are doing, going over to a professor's house for dinner or going out to dinner. I think it's usually once or twice a month. It's not anything overwhelming or taxing. Mm-hmm. We've had some Endeavor communities that have taken a day trip to DC. And so you go for the day to DC and go mm-hmm. to a Smithsonian museum or something like that. It's not anything where we recognize the transition to college is a lot and that you have a lot of other things going on. And so we want to make sure that we balance it. These are not programs that are going to overwhelm you with you have to travel every week or anything like that mm-hmm. as part of it.
And a lot of the programs the navigators put on, so I work directly with the navigators, and we're talking a lot about how can we bring programming into the residence hall too. So a lot of the stuff that you'll be able to engage with will be things that you can get to really quickly. Are the bathrooms in Laura Robbins co-ed or by pod?
They're by pod.
Pod.
So there are, again, some single bathrooms as well. That are just single occupancy. But then there are also the bathrooms by pod. So there's a female bathroom or a male identified bathroom that goes along with that pod. Whew, no way we answered all your questions, but that was a whirlwind. Any other questions that you all have, feel free to still shout them out. We have about 10 more minutes before I was told we should stop. So we want to answer any questions that you may have still. You can also shoot us a message if you'd rather do it that way. But feel free, we strongly encourage you to go to the website, learn about the different programs. You can read all about them. Our contact information is all on the website as well. You can reach out to Akila or myself, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have as well. So, okay. Michaela, was there anything else that you would add? that you think
Yeah.
a first-year student should know?
Well, there was one that you answered in the chat about URISE. Could I say that out loud in case anyone
Sure.
else was wondering?
Yep.
Someone asked about whether you can apply to URISE, which is another semester program your freshman year, and do Endeavor. So you can, because URISE actually takes place during the midsummer months, so July, and so it does not have any time conflicts with Roadmap. I personally did both programs, and I thought they were really awesome, and I had the same question. That was the first time I emailed Andy Gurka, was when I was like, can I do both? I really want to do both. So if you want to do both, definitely go ahead and apply to both, and I hope you get them.
Michaela, can you explain what URISE is, just because in case people don't know what it is?
Yeah, so URISE is a program for incoming freshmen in underrepresented science and I guess, what's the word? Underrepresented socioeconomic statuses. And so you apply to the program, and then when you're there, you have your 2 advisors. It's expanded since then, and you get to do research with those professors, like actual research. And then you also get a research mentor who is a current undergraduate student who helps you through that experience. And then along with that, when the year starts, you get to take this course called SMART, so Science, Mathematics, and Research Techniques, which you would get Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, and then your Intro Bio and Chemistry class.
We did have a question that came in about anything changing with these programs or housing due to COVID-19. As of right now, it is our plan and hope that we all will be back together on campus and doing things as normal. Obviously, those things could change. I think I know that we're all doing a lot of contingency planning about the fall semester and like what we could do or might do, but that's really all going to depend upon the science and depend upon what our governor in Virginia and what the state mandates in terms of our continuing our social distancing or quarantining or staying at home order that we currently have. So as of right now, we're making plans for both things, right? How could we do all of this online if we really had to? It's obviously not what we would prefer to do, because I think we all see the benefits of face-to-face, in-person, being together as a community, and community is super important. But we also are thinking carefully about all those kinds of things as well. So thanks for the question. It's all sort of unknown and in the air, but we're working hard on all kinds of options.
Yeah, and just I guess a final thing, if you guys don't have more questions, is that what Endeavor and Roadmap really does, what Endeavor and Roadmap really does is help students build community and get engaged with their campus to help them acclimate and feel comfortable. But say you decide after this not to do Roadmap or Endeavor, you don't have to worry about feeling like you won't have a community, because the campus has many opportunities for students to be involved and meet people and make friendships. So it's just an all-around good experience, and I encourage you to apply if you're interested, but definitely don't fear that this is the only way to start building community.
One more question came in, and I'll just answer that, and about a student asking if they can do a different pre-orientation program as well as Endeavor. So they were asking about the Appalachian Trail program. You can't do both of them at the same time because they go concurrently. So if you do Endeavor, you will do Roadmap, which means unfortunately you can't do the Appalachian Trail Adventure program. I know the follow-up question that comes from this after, which is what do I do about applying for it? So, I mean, that's up to you. You could definitely apply for both and then you could withdraw. Endeavor obviously has a lot more of commitments in terms of the year-long commitment, and you do know about that in June, but just so you know, you can't do both of them. So that's, and you're quite welcome. So I think we'll wrap it up here. If you all have other questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, go to the website, read all about it, and we're happy to take any questions that you may have afterwards. We really appreciate you all coming and for listening and asking your questions. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening, and we'll hopefully see you very soon in the fall on campus.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.